that better? Can you hear me? On YouTube. YouTube said there was no sound. So can you hear me now, Jose? Let me know if you can hear me. All right. I must not have had the microphone in too good, but we got everything squared up now. Who was that? All right. One Life Luther. Jose, how you guys doing? Jason on Facebook. How we doing? I'm gonna do one share on Facebook if I can get my laptop to act right. By the time that gets itself squared away, that should give people enough time to get started. But today's conversation is going to use the COVID situation and 5G as a part of our understanding here. Here dealing with this lockdown. Yeah, I know this lockdown is something special. And actually, that's part of what we're talking about tonight, is how we're dealing with it, where our mindset is, and how we can free ourselves from the matrix of being captured into this fear, realizing that we don't have to be in the slave mindset of this, but get into a mastermind of this whole situation. I heard the stories that this is all caused by 5G. Now, how do you feel about that? What's up, CD? One Life. Well, we're going to talk about that actually, because there's information back and forth, but I don't want to get started too much on that aspect of it before we really get going here. In this, but how's everybody coping? Whether this is a 5G issue or not, if people are out there and they're sick, you want to remain as healthy as possible. But that's also another aspect of this entire conversation about remaining healthy and what we have to do. What we have to do. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks, Miles. I appreciate it. I love making videos, and my plan is to continue to make them over the long term. So you missed my call the other day. Okay. Call me back. Give me a call tomorrow around 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. No, 11 a.m. Give me a call around 11 a.m. tomorrow. Because after this tonight, it's family time. So look, guys, here's the deal. We are all living in matrix, in a matrix, in different matrices, different states of mind, different control factors, different things are in place that keeps us in one state or another. And what we're going to talk about today is falling into panic and dealing with panic. Is that my only time? No, actually, I'm free anytime tomorrow. Just don't call before 10, because I'm gonna tell you guys this is horrible. But since this whole thing been going on, I haven't even been getting out of bed till like 10:30, because it's just like, I stay up till like 2-3 in the morning during this whole time frame. I need to go to bed at a normal time, but yeah. So just give me to like 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then any time after that is great. So I was reading over a lot of information over the last few days, and then in my meditations and my dreams, different aspects of things come to mind. And oddly enough, last night in my dreams, this download that I got from the universe, from the Creator, was of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius. I don't know if anybody knows who Marcus Aurelius is. Let me know. But if you don't know who Marcus Aurelius is, I'm saying let me know. If you don't know who Marcus Aurelius is, he was one of the better Roman emperors back in the day. But one of the things is that he was a very stoic philosopher, and he wrote his work down called the Meditations. Right? These meditations are stoic philosophy, a thought process, a way of being from him. Now, the thing about it is, the thing about Marcus Aurelius and meditation is that being a Stoic is a lot about controlling your mindset, controlling who you are, how you are, understanding how society is functioning, and not being caught into a situation where society controls you. Uh, Now, the Stoic ideas can go, you can go very deep into that aspect of it. You can go very loose. What we're going to talk about is how a person who is Stoic would deal with panic, and to which many people are, running around today in a panic, um, running around, you know, with buying up all the toilet paper because somebody said, "Oh, you better hurry up and run and get everything." And as we see those people who ran and got all the toilet paper, there's been plenty of toilet paper, to go around. So it's not that you had to run out and get all the toilet paper. You didn't have to run out and get all the water. You didn't have to run out and get all of the anything, because all of it is still plentiful. The stores are still operating. The trucks are still coming. The factories are still manufacturing, and even though they don't tell you about it, there are more people surviving this COVID-19 situation than there are dying. Right? More people become free of it instead of people dying of it. I had a weird vision also in forms of dreams, plus I visit during meditation. Exactly, and during my meditation, I get even more downloads. So I'm having this dream last night, this vision of Marcus Aurelius, and nothing was specific about it. Only just the idea of Marcus Aurelius, just his image, and I saw the book, the Meditations, was just there, and it's a book that I've read several times, loved the book, enjoyed the book, had some great insight. For some reason, I can't share this YouTube one to my regular page, which is throwing me off a little bit here. I can't share the Facebook to my regular page, my regular Facebook page. It's on the Coach Renz page right now. But anyway, so what? So here's the deal. So I'm thinking about, I'm waking up to this vision of Marcus Aurelius and meditations. And after waking up to it, I go into my morning meditations, and every day I go into a morning meditation. Today is a full moon of this month. And so I'm doing like certain meditations during this full moon time frame as the water rises. Is more the concept. It's not so much woo-woo as much as it is like what's the science between a full moon and the water. And since we're 70 to 80% water, how does that affect us? How does that affect our consciousness? How does that affect the way we think? That sort of thing. So I'm doing certain meditations this last couple of days and today, and I'll do one tonight. And I start to think about what is the truth of this entire COVID situation. I'm getting people sending me all kinds of stuff. They're sending me things talking about, oh, it's all really 5G. Every time when 3G came out, there was SARS. When 4G came out, there was H1N1. And these things have come out, and there's always a correlation to what's going on with radio waves. Then I'm looking up the information, because I'm not going to claim to be expert in all this stuff. How you doing, Trish? So I start looking it up and start understanding and the difference, and re-educating myself in the difference from when I was an IT guy and I had an opportunity to work with a cell tower company, and discussing how radiation actually works, different types of radiation, how it functions, what's the difference between non-ionizing radiation and ionizing radiation. So I'm starting to look up that type of information to see, like, okay, are cell phones and our towers ionizing radiation, or is it non-ionizing radiations? How strong is it? What does it read on the Geiger counter? Things of that nature. So I'm looking up multiple information, and of course you can get either side. You can get people who are for it, people who are against it. It's like all this information is out there. So I start to realize, where is the truth in the matter? Where is the truth in the matter? And that was a sticking point. Where is the truth? You see, we like to commonly say the truth will set us free. But there are different kinds of perceptions of truth, right? So there's the old story, and I'm gonna come back to it, where the story is, you have a fish that sits in a bowl. And for that fish that's in the bowl, it believes that the water in that fish is all the water that exists. That is the entire world. Y'all saw my wife walk by? That is the entire world, right? The fish in the bowl. Now, if you take that same fish and you put him in a pond, then the pond becomes his entire world. The entire truth to that fish is now the pond. And it believes that the pond is all that there is. And if you put him in the ocean, then the ocean becomes his entire world. So sometimes when we see truth, whatever our conditions, the things that surround us, that becomes our entire world. We are selfish beings where we see things how we see them, because every experience that you have, you are the center of it. Whether you realize that or not, I cannot experience something for any one of you guys. I can only experience something for me, right? So I can't experience anything for you. You experience it. Therefore, you are the center of your universe in experiencing things and how you relate them to yourselves. So even when it comes to truth, the question is, are you a fish in a bowl, fish in a pond, fish in the ocean? Whichever one you are, that's your entire universe. That's your entire understanding. That's all that there is to you. And as trying to convince someone anything other than that, anything different than what they're experiencing, is a fool's errand. Is a fool's errand. You know, it is said that, it's easier to fool someone than convince them that they've been fooled. So it's easier for someone to be convinced that the world, their mindset of the world, their understanding of the world is all that there is, and that is truth, and that is the only truth, than to convince them that they're wrong. If somebody is definitely a red state person, then the whole world is red state. If someone is blue, then the whole world is the blue state. If someone is, the world is evil and going to hell, and everybody in the world is disgustingly horrible, then that's how their world exists. And they are the center of that universe, center of that world, and that's what it means to them, and that's how it is to them. So we are all products of our environment. But being in that environment, just because that's what your worldview has been, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth, that is the reality of everything around you. You see, many of us exist in this matrix of being a gorilla in a cage, meaning that we have been raised up in captivity. We've been raised in a zoo. And we have only understood everything that has happened to us in that zoo. And our full understanding of the world and the universe is what the zoo has shown us. And even when the doors are open, the gorilla doesn't leave the cage. If the gorilla has lived in the cage its entire life, has known the rules of that cage, understood those rules, that gorilla will not leave that cage, because that is its entire existence. And our existence is not that much different. I have been to many countries, and the people in every country see the world how they see it based on their country, their nationalism. That is how the world is. That is how the world functions. That is how things are. That is the right way to do things. That is how everything should follow and be done. And then even within their own country, however, their economic state makes a huge difference as to who they are, how they are in their worldview of everything. And if you try to open up the cage for them, they will not walk out. They will not follow. They will not go and see what else the world has to offer. I have family members who refuses to leave this country because they fear that they will not be let back in. And although I will not say this expressly to them, but they are a gorilla in a cage. They've been trained and taught that America is all that there is and all that there ever should be, and that this is their existence and nothing else is better. And to risk leaving this country, even for visitation, for vacation, is too great of a risk. Much like the gorilla in the cage who leave the door open, will walk up and close the door of the cage. Now there's another story, another idea in philosophy that says that an old fish came up to some young fish. And the old fish said to the young fish, "How's the water?" And the fish swam for a little bit, then they looked at the old fish and they said, "What the hell is water?" Sometimes what is truth sits right before us. It's right in our faces. But we are so blinded by everything else that we've been taught and conditioned that we can't see the fact of the truth that sits right before us. And if you guys have question statements, I will stop and try to answer them or discuss them. Brittany on Facebook says, our experiences play a part in our perspective, like the frog in hot water parable. Exactly. And for those who don't know, the frog in hot water parable is the fact that if you want to boil a frog, you boil them slowly. As the water temperature rises, the frog won't try to jump out even though it can, because it just experienced the heat of the water and it just continues to boil. In the same way, when the fish who are in the water, if you tell the fish won't recognize that they're in water. They don't recognize what's obvious in front of them. Oftentimes, we won't recognize what is obvious. We can tell you over and over again. Society can tell you over and over again. You went to school, you went to class, you see it. Even the news media that you get stuck on is telling you a truth over and over again. And if you took this one little bit of truth that they're telling you and move from that point, I guarantee you, you would look at all this stuff differently. And I'm going to save that little truth for just a few minutes. But if you did that, you would see this whole world differently. You would do things different. You would respond completely differently. And before I go there, there's one other allegory that I want to bring about to you guys for a deeper understanding of that message. And that is, there's something on my YouTube that's throwing me off here. We're going to ignore it and keep going. And what is that? What is that? That is the old other allegory of the atheist and the religious person in a bar in Alaska. There was an atheist guy and a religious guy sitting in a bar in Alaska, and they were debating over whether or not God exists. And they was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, neither one budging in their philosophy of does God exist. And then the atheist said, I know that there is no God, and I'm going to explain to you why I know there is no God. The atheist then tells a story of how he was on the side of the road, flat tire, and it's in Alaska. The storm is cold and it's very risky to be out like that. And he said, I'm going to try your God. And he prayed and said, if you're real, then do something about this situation. And then after a long while, two Eskimos showed up. And two Eskimos showed up and they helped him out and they helped him fix his car. Right? Now, at that point, the religious person sees, see, there is your proof of God. You prayed to God and he sent you two Eskimos. And the atheist said, that is not proof of God. Those two Eskimos just happened to be there and heard me cry out for help. It doesn't matter what it is. We're going to hold on to whatever truth that we believe is right. We're going to hold on to whatever idea that we believe is right. No matter how somebody tells you a story, no matter how somebody tells you of their experience is only going to be relatable to them. Their experience is only going to come out the way that they have already predetermined is going to come out. So it's beating your head against a brick wall to try to change the mindset of those who are stuck in a cage. Those who see the world their way and are not going to see it any other way. The best thing you can do is just accept that that's how these people are, that's how those people are, and just keep it going and focus on where you're moving in your life, where you're moving in your world. What is your experience? How are you experiencing the universe? And then what it means to you. This, for some people, I like in the movie The Matrix, I believe it's in the Reloaded version, where he said that only 1% of the people that most of the people accepted the program, and only 1% didn't accept the program, and 1% didn't expect it, and they realized that in order to convince that 1%, all they had to do is give them the perception of choice. All they had to do is give them a choice. Do they live in the blue pill or the red pill? Give them a choice. Most people on this planet are going to accept the conditions of what they've been given, what they've been told. Most people on this planet are going to look at the news and over again, they're going to hear that same information, that negativity, and that is how they're going to live their life in fear, in guilt and shame, in the fear of losing something. They're going to live their life in that pattern. And there's absolutely nothing most people can do about it. Very few will be like the fish in the bowl. And the fish in the bowl, there's one thing different than the fish in the bowl. If you put a fish in a bowl, yes, they think that the bowl is the whole universe. You put them in the pond is the entire universe. You put them in the ocean is the whole universe. But here's something different about a fish that's different from a gorilla that's in a cage. A gorilla that's in a cage and been in captivity its entire life, you open the cage and it will not go out. You take that gorilla and you put him back into the wild. He will more than likely die and not know how to forage for himself, take care of himself, defend himself. But a fish in a bowl, if you take that bowl and submerge it into the pond or the ocean, even though it had been swimming around that bowl and knew its limitations, as soon as the top has been covered by water, that fish will swim out of that bowl and then experience the rest of the ocean, the rest of the pond, wherever body of water you put it in. And it will continue to go to the length of where it can go. You see, a fish, just like a shark in a tank will only grow as large as the tank. If you put the shark grows up in the ocean, it grows bigger. But the fish in that bowl will leave the bowl and go experience all that it can. It will go to the outer limits of what it can experience based on its abilities, based on its nature. I mean, of course, freshwater fish are going to stay in freshwater. But you get the point. A fish will do that, whereas a gorilla will stay locked in its cage. A lion will stay locked in its cage and will not be able to survive when put back into its natural environment. We, though, are humans who are, let me rephrase that. We are, we are energetic, conscious beings that's having a human experience on this planet. Our extension of who we are is beyond this framework of a body and this time. We get locked in on time as well. Jose said, problem is you can show people the truth, prove it, and then they still won't believe you. This is absolutely true. Most people won't, but there are people, those who will. Rashonda says, I agree. What came to me in focusing on my purpose, help them and accept them as they do me. Exactly, help them and accept them as they do me. But one of the things that Marcus Aurelius said that many people will not realize, will not accept, you can tell it to them until they're in their face, and they've been told this over and over again, is that history repeats itself. History repeats itself, that there is nothing new under the sun, that all things flow in a cycle, all things are in a circle. We come from 1 degree to 360 degrees back to the same point. Everything that has happened in the past is happening again today. It will continue to happen. The only difference is that it's transient, meaning that it comes through in a different format, in a different vehicle. We've had Black Plague, that's existed. We've had the Spanish flu, that's existed. There's been different pandemics throughout the history of man. It's not something that has destroyed us. It's something that has it killed a lot of people? Yes. Did AIDS come through? It killed a lot of people? Yes. All these things happen in history over and over again. Have we had economic crashes before? Yes, we have. Will we have more economic crashes? Yes, we will. Will there be more pandemics? I mean, the fact that Bill Gates, and I know a lot of people are like kicking Bill Gates right now, but so I'm just using it as a point. The fact that Bill Gates talked about a pandemic hitting about 2-3 years ago or 5 years ago, that doesn't make him some great prophet that he didn't I want to say procrastinator. I'm saying it wrong, so forget it. It doesn't mean that he knows what's coming. He just looks at history and knows that it's going to repeat itself. The greatest people on Wall Street know that finances, economics work in systems, and all of it will repeat itself. All these things, leaders who will come and go, they will all repeat themselves. We will have bad ones and good ones, bad ones and good ones, red ones and blue ones. It will continue to recycle and repeat. There will be those who are for the people against the people. There are those for these people and those people. It all cycles itself through over and over again. But we don't focus in on the fact that this is common knowledge. And with this common knowledge, we can make certain changes. We can make we can take certain advantages that we don't. To label myself, which I hate labels, of course, you know that. As a highly melanated man of America, we are at the bottom of everything in America. We've been at the bottom. We've been at the bottom since European colonization took over the continent of America, and European colonization took over the majority of the world. We've been at the bottom. The reason why the Asians haven't been so much is because they maintained and gained their land of India, they maintained their lands of China and Japan. So they hadn't remained at the bottom. But the black American, especially, has remained at the bottom. So do you think there is a correlation between 5G and this virus? I think that the only correlation between 5G and this virus is that increased radiation to a person who is already unhealthy will make it worse. So people who already live in a congested area will make it worse, will make them more susceptible to viruses. Do I think that there is a COVID-19 virus? I do. Do I think that it would be as prevalent? Like, there's a reason why it's not as prevalent in some groups as there are in others. And that's what I'm about to get to in just a second here. When I wake up, I feel as though I've been traveling. What is that called? That's acid. That's acid, not acid. That's astral projection and lucid dreaming. I dream like that and feel like that pretty much every morning. Here in Puerto Rico, everything is happening 100 years ago is repeating itself. Hurricane Maria and major earthquakes, and now this virus. Exactly. All these things repeat itself, and they will keep repeating themselves. The problem is that if you don't learn the lessons of history, we will remain in the same predicament of history over and over again. If you look at the Spanish flu and the Black Plague and the records that were kept of it, it was more devastating to the people of lower finances, the people of lower health condition. Those people, the peasants as they call them, the lower class, those people are always devastated more so than others. Yeah, if you look at, there was my cousin sent out to the family a CNN broadcast where you had different people talking about the fact that the black American population is out of balance in how many people, the ratio of black Americans who are dying from it, who are catching it, is out of balance with the number of people that they represent in each state, right? So like in Louisiana, we're like 64% of the people who die of it and who catch it, but black people are only like 30% of the population there. And when you look at that, the one guy's suggestion was to release people from prison and let them be in home prison with ankle bracelets on. And this is a black guy, I believe, who suggested that. Of course, they started talking about the fact that, black people, we need programs and things to get black people out of their economic situation. Now, that is true. And they say that right now, yes, we recognize, and the governors was like, we recognize that there's a problem, there's disparaging ratios here, and those things shouldn't happen, and that it's a systematic infrastructure issue. Of course, the governor is saying all the right things right now because it's in the forefront, because it's in his face. And then just as soon as and of course they're saying we must devote resources. And then they have the good excuse. It's the most brilliant excuse, and you've heard it over and over again. More research must be done in order to figure out how to change the infrastructure within the black community. More research must be done in order for us to understand the problem in the black community that's keeping this systematic structure in place. More research must be done. Now, they will keep saying more research must be done until it's over. Then once it's over, they will say, we do not have the resources right now to gain the research to change the situation. How you doing, Camille? They will then change the narrative to we don't have the resources because it won't be an issue. It won't be an issue. And let me see. They need to be trying to protect us from an asteroid hitting the Earth in the future. Yeah, because one gonna come at some point. Look at all his policies. All right, so that's what they're going to be saying. All of a sudden, that's going to be gone. There's not going to be any resources. Look, here's the situation. Black people, you're at the bottom right now during the pandemic, just as in the feudal Europe, the poor people were at the bottom, the Irish were at the bottom, the Scottish was at the bottom. the lower classes of France and Spain and all these places were at the bottom. And when the pandemic was over, yes, they were more devastated. More of them died, and they still remained at the bottom thereafter. So that when they went from the Black Plague to the Spanish flu to whatever else, those people still were the ones in the most danger. But we live in a different time. We can see that that is a repetitive cycle. And if black people want to change it, then you cannot sit there. I understood the two black people who was on the broadcast. But what I could not stand is the fact that they were also advocating more research needs to be done. And yes, they said that, oh, and when it's over, when this has passed, we can't forget about it. They said that. But they still are stuck on the we need more research. There is no need for more research. Why? We know the history. We know the history, and that's all the research you need. We know the history of Jim Crow in the South. We know the history of slavery in America, period. We know the history of the freedmen banks taking the money from the former slaves and giving it to white people. We know the history of redlining. We know the history of poor schools and poor education in segregated black communities, and it's still remaining desegregated. We know the history, so there is no research needed. There is no research needed to beef up infrastructure. And here's why there's not going to be. Let's look at AIDS for a minute. Let's look at AIDS for a minute. What Larry said, Earth is closed is shutting down. Earth is closed is a closed system with a done, there will never be an asteroid. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, most asteroids are going to bump off. It'd have to be a really huge asteroid to hit the planet to actually do something. But let's not go into there. Let people do not need to research. This is common sense. Right, we don't need to do research. Here's the thing. Let's look at AIDS for a second, and we're going to look at drugs for a second. Both AIDS and drugs follow the same a certain pathway. And we cannot get caught up into this pathway, all right, into this understanding. Because when I thought about Marcus Aurelius, what came to my mind was how the Stoics view things as, let's get all the facts. The first and foremost, it's about the trivium mindset of keeping yourself calm. Let's get all the facts. Let's prepare ourselves and handle business like we need to. Yeah. Whether it's 5G towers or COVID-19, right? Stay away, keep your distance from people. People start coughing, keep your distance. Build up your immune system. Prep yourself for situations. But what's a prep that we don't have? We don't have economic prep. So we have to prep ourselves economically. We have to take in all the facts of what's going on today, and we know that within the next 10 years there will be another pandemic. So since there's going to be another pandemic in the next 10 years, how do you prepare yourself? How do you change the situation? What's the best situation you can be in? Let's look at drugs and AIDS. The first thing is suspending the false belief. Suspending the false belief that's pumped out to you as soon as something happens. When AIDS first came out, I remember it was a gay person's disease. Do y'all remember that? It was a gay disease. I don't know how old most of you guys are, but in the 80s, when AIDS was like, oh, AIDS is all the rage, basically, AIDS and HIV, it was a gay disease. And it only affected the gay community. And if you got AIDS, you were obviously gay. That was the first information. So black people, poor people, period, felt, and I'm not saying all black people, all black people are poor, but we are, by our statistics, overwhelmingly lower income because of all the systemic racism and all the jacked up education and not missed opportunity, but I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. All the opportunity just not being available to black people as much as people think that they are. It started in the prisons, if I remember correctly. Actually, AIDS started in African countries, and there's a report from a French report. Can't remember what the French report was. I'm gonna have to find it, where they talked about how in South Africa they purposely gave people AIDS and told them it was a vaccine. But the fact of the matter is, when it was first really publicized in America, AIDS was always publicized as a gay disease, and black people bought it up. White people brought it up too. We all thought it's a gay disease, it's a gay disease. So people didn't take necessary precautions. People didn't think about the fact that AIDS is a blood-borne disease. That's the true information that people should have been caught AIDS through the transmission of blood. I was going to say transmutation, but the transmission of blood, whether it's through a needle, through shared drug activity, which was the next big lie that, oh, it's a drug, it's a needle drug user's disease. But whether through that or through blood banks, through any other type of blood transference, I had an uncle. Well, he's still my uncle. I have an uncle who, in the 80s, 90s, contracted AIDS because of needle use from his wife, and then she gave it to him sexually, and they both passed away in the late 80s and early 90s from AIDS. Y'all know I'm very transparent, but it was real. It was what happened. But before that happened, before my uncle contracted it, I bought into the hype as a teenager that AIDS was a gay disease. This COVID-19, when it first came out, black people was all on Facebook talking about something. This ain't a black person disease. Black people ain't catching it. It ain't in Africa like it's in these European countries. Look at Italy, but it ain't happening in Africa like that. That it's attacking white people. You being protected by your melanin. This is what people were saying. This is what people. Now at this state though, a lot of black people are dying. More black people are dying disproportionately than white people. And I personally know of black people who have contracted COVID-19, have tested positive in it. All right. I don't personally know anybody who died, but I know people personally who have had family members who have said to die. And yes, some people are out there saying, oh, everybody who died from it, they faking it. You died of a heart attack, but they saying they putting it in as COVID-19. I get so many every morning, and please, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Please stop sending me instant messenger things. Please stop sending me the instant messengers. But I get hit with those every morning going off with something, some other thing like that. Is there such a thing as boosting your immune system? I thought the immune system that you're born with stays the same except when you abuse it. These people don't care about their own. Look, here's the thing about your immune system. Yes, you can. The reason why you can boost your immune system because you're surrounded by so many things that lower your immune system. All the electromagnetic interference that we have on this planet, that's man-made. All the carcinogens of food that we eat, all the meat that we eat, all the modified vegetables and fruits and all that stuff lowers your immune system. The not getting enough sleep and drinking horrible water and sodas and all that kind of stuff. And I love my coffee and drinking coffee. All these things are not good for your immune system. So we do need to counterbalance it by boosting our immune system. I love you we take elderberry in this house every day. Whether it's capsules right now, but let somebody start feeling a little sniffly, you finna get the syrup. So, and then eating, green leafies, dark fruits, things like that, they do help boost your immune system to your highest performance state. Only genetics can cause you to be at a lower immune system from birth. Whether that your immune system may be lower than somebody else's. So yeah, you want to boost it back to at least a normal state for your body. Which is the best situation you can have to fight anything. Your body is basically designed to fight off most everything and alkaline your body as well. Drink plenty of water. Plenty of water and cut out as much meat as possible. So, in thinking about that, what is the other truth? We know that the most unhealthy of us, how you doing, Dennis? How you doing, Sean? How y'all guys doing on Facebook? We know that the most unhealthy of us are the most at risk of any pandemic, of any situation, period. Any economic stress situation, any leadership stress situation, any viral or sickness stress situation, the least healthy are always the ones who are in the most danger. So why do we still in the black community promote living an unhealthy life? Why do we still look at the woman or the man who is overweight and think it's sexy? The big dude, I want me a big old man, and he got that big belly and everything. That ain't sexy, and it ain't healthy. The big girl, it ain't healthy. Having a big old gut and a big old butt is not healthy, but we personify it as beauty. We personify it as naturally who we are. And we make it seem like it's okay, but those are the ones who wind up having diabetes. Those are the ones who wind up having heart condition. High blood pressure is almost a birthright in the black community. Yet it doesn't have to be. I understand. Systematically, we grew up eating the worst parts of the meat, and our ancestors made it taste good. I don't know about chitlins. Yeah, a chitlin ain't never crossed my lips, and it never will. But did I grow up eating pork chops, and did my grandmother make it taste oh so great? Yes, she did. Should we have been eating so much pork chop and sausage and the worst hot dogs and all this sort of thing? No. But when you grow up without money, when your family has systematically didn't have money, you buy the cheapest thing you can buy and you make it taste good. And then you keep doing it. Like, people still make greens, boil all the goodness out of it, but then they throwing all this fat back and all this stuff in it, making a vegetable completely unhealthy. We have to break those generational uh, conditioning. I'm not going to call them curses, they're conditioning. We have to break those generational conditionings to realize that, look, when the next pandemic hit, if you got a small child right now, you got a 4 or 5 year old, and the next pandemic hit when they're 14, 15 years old, they need to be in a healthy state. The healthier state they're in, the less impact it's going to have on their life. If they do catch it, they got a better chance at surviving and defeating it and being a conqueror of it. So no, we don't do surviving, we conquer. Being a conqueror of it instead of being a victim of it, because you put them in a better state. There's no reason for black people to have so much high blood pressure and hypertension and diabetes. We do because of how we eat and how we live our lives. Right? We're trying to keep up with the Joneses and have all the newest car. I can drive through a impoverished neighborhood. The house looked like a shack, but they got a Mercedes in front of it. They got this is this one guy. He lived in this one neighborhood. I didn't understand. He bought one of those brand new Corvettes, and every 2 3 weeks somebody would bust out the window. Why did you buy a Corvette? You could have taken that money, that down payment you put on that thing, and bought you a better house. Bought you got in a safer environment, bought into a community, and this whole community was rented. Almost every home in this community was rented. So I'm like, you could have bought a house for that in a neighborhood where most people own their homes, so that there is a certain amount of pride taken in the neighborhood, a certain amount of neighborhood security that is taken. So if we don't learn how to change these things, then we will continue to be victims of history, because the history will repeat itself. This is the matrix of panic and false information, because the news is in the business of making money. Many people will say, well, the news is out there to misinform the people, to keep the people down and keep them in fear and that sort of thing. Yeah, they do want to keep you in fear. The reason why they want to keep you in fear, because fear gets viewers. The more people are watching the news now than were watching the news 3 4 months ago. And the news is making money because everybody now wants to advertise on the news media channels, so they're making money. It's about money. Controlling you, sure, there may be some controls in there, but the biggest thing is about making money. The advertisers are paying it. And if you understood how the economy has been going, advertisers haven't been making the television hasn't been making as much money because advertisers aren't spending the money there as much as they used to. That money's been moving to social media, all right? And since the money's been moving there, television watchers, live television, haven't been getting the advertisement dollars. But now they're getting it, and they want this to last. They're going to keep talking about it. So One Life said, because we have no self-discipline. And we have to understand how that came into play. How is it that our disciplines are different? How is it that most people who are middle class and below, which does encompass the majority of black people in America, why are our disciplines the way they are? Why are we lacking? Well, one, we haven't seen anybody else do it. What we see is people leave, right? We see people leave all the time. You make some money. I grew up in Marietta, Georgia. From the way my parents and my grandparents told me, in Marietta, Georgia, Lawrence Street and Lemon Street was the Black Wall Street for Marietta. Right? That's where all the doctors and the lawyers and the business owners and all the grocery store owners, this is where all those people lived, who were selling to all the black people. What's up, John? How you doing? Selling to all the black people. But then integration happened. And all those people who owned the businesses that were selling to black people, they all moved to the nicer homes next to the white people because we want to show them that we can live where we want to live. And then all the black people say, well, I'm not going to go to Mr. Strick's restaurant. I'm going to go up here to Woolworths. I'm going to sit at that counter because I'm going to show them that they're going to take my money. And we bankrupt the black businesses because we wanted to force the white businesses to take our money. We lost our sense of community and development. Now, once we lost that, the next generation didn't learn it. And the next generation didn't learn it. And so when I come up, I didn't learn from my parents my mom, I didn't learn how to budget. I didn't learn how to develop a family. I didn't learn how to do any of those things. I learned how to survive. I didn't learn how to conquer. So in order for us to change that, we have to look at who we are today. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my grandparents. I appreciate everything that they did for me and did, for our entire family. I do. I greatly appreciate them, right? But I cannot sit up here and worry and complain about what they weren't. The only thing I can do now is say, I know what I wanted them to be. I would have liked for them to be. And I just have to be it now. I have to be it. And I have to be it for myself. And I have to be it for my son and my daughters. Well, my sons and my daughters and my nephews and all my other nieces and cousins and all of them. I have to be it. Not worrying about if somebody else is going to do it. I used to tell my brother, we need to do this. I used to tell my uncle, we need to be this. And my sister, we need to be this. We're the next ones coming up and we need to be this. No, I cannot force anybody else to be anything. I just have to look at me. What can I be? I need to be everything that I wanted my dad to be, everything I wanted my mom to be, everything I wanted my grandparents to be. I have to be it. And I've been on a mission to be that ever since I realized that about 15 years ago, that I have to be it. And it's been a constant growth of realization, but the full realization came about 15 years ago. And then you got to unlearn all that hypnotic rhythm of how you used to be. You got to unlearn it. And that takes time, and that takes development. So there are some things we can do to do that. Let me see what John said. Hello, Coach. Thank you for your intellectual knowledge. COVID-19 had me worried, but you made me realize to stay positive even through. I am at risk because of my underlying health issues. The fear factor is at its best right now, and that's the thing. We have underlying health issues that we got to get past. Most of the health issues that we have is simply because of how we eat, and how we stress. Let me put that in there too. Because you can eat great, but if you're walking around stressed all to be damned, you're going to see stress causes toxins to build up in your body and in your cell membranes. So you can't be stressed. I get up and today I didn't get up. Y'all, this is horrible. Don't judge me on it. Don't judge me on it. I did wake up this morning at 8:30 and then I went back to sleep. Me and my wife didn't crawl out of bed at about 2:20 this afternoon. That's horrible, right? That is horrible. That's horrible. But that was some good rest. I'm talking about that rest where you feel like you can feel your legs are in a deep rest state. That thing was feeling good, and I was just not getting up out of bed. But even though I didn't get up to 2:20, I still went and did my meditation. It wasn't morning no more, so it wasn't a morning meditation, but I still did my meditation. Tonight, even though we're doing this live, and me and my family, we ate dinner, we watched a movie, I will still go do my evening meditations tonight. I am still going to decompress off today, even though the day wasn't even stressful. We took a nice walk. I did some work, and I will still de-stress. I will start my morning, start my days without all that stress. You got to let go of the stress because yes, it does damage your immune system. But many black people walk around stressed, and one of those stresses is because our finances are off. Our finances are off. The first thing you have to realize: stop trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, and stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Right? Well, then reverse that. If you stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, then you wouldn't have to rob Peter to pay Paul. And many people are saying that, well, it takes two incomes to live, and they just don't pay us enough to live, and we ain't got enough money to live, and yes, you do. Yes, you do. I know people who live off $1,200 a month. I know people who live off $2,400 a month. And yeah, are they living high on the hog? No. But they living. They don't live as stressed out. Are they living in the worst abject poverty-stricken places? No, they are not. There are places you can live. You just have to be willing to move there. You just have to be willing to live in that neighborhood. You might have to drive a little further. You might have to catch a longer ride on the bus system or whatever it is. Your sanity and your health is worth it. Your sanity and your health is definitely worth it. It is. If you stop overspending, this is the basic truth, guys. This is the basic truth. This truth has been around throughout all history. If you spend less than you make, you are not in financial trouble. Your finances get better. They do. They get better. Spend less than what you make. Live off less than 100%, or for a lot of cases, 110% of your income. Dennis Jordan said, brother, can you do a video about the chakras? Yeah, I can do that one. I'll do a live about the chakras before this week is out. So stay tuned for it. I like talking about chakras. I can talk about chakras every day, actually. Because that's my meditations are all set up based on chakras. So, except for tonight, it's going to be a full moon meditation. Stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. Stop spending more than what you make. Just stop. It takes a minute. Back in 91, I was spending. My situation flipped on me, and I was at 112% of my income, meaning that I was either borrowing money every month or I was floating checks. Yep, I floated checks. I sure did. I knew that something had. I knew that the shut off date and the date that I wouldn't get charged. Okay, the date that I wouldn't get charged a late fee if the bill was due on the 1st. I knew that I had to pay it on the 5th or the 6th, but I knew I wasn't going to get paid till maybe the 9th or the 10th. So I floated that check, and I prayed and I hoped and I prayed that check didn't go through my bank account before I got paid. I floated checks like a master, and sometimes I got caught, but then I got tired of that, and I realized I will never get out of this situation as long as I'm spending more than I make. So I just had to put a pause on it. I stopped. We ain't going to the movies. We ain't going out to eat. We finna go get the minimum amount of groceries we can get that we think it can last for the whole month, and we ain't spending no more money on food. We ain't spending no money that we don't have to spend, and I'm gonna get on top of this, and I'm gonna figure this out. And I read The Richest Man in Babylon, and I started, I called all my creditors. I told them exactly how much I can pay them every month. Some of them complained, some of them whined, but when I paid them, I just paid them. And they called, and I just said, hey, I told you what I can pay you. I ain't paying you no more than that. Right? And I kept paying them. Eventually, things started getting paid off, and I wasn't 100%. I went out and I figured out how to make more money. I started a nighttime janitorial company. I knew that if I had 3 contracts, it'd get me out of trouble. And I did it. And I did that for 3 years. For 3 years. All right? From 91 to 94, from 91 to 94, that was my life. That was my financial life. And even when I got promoted in the Marine Corps, I took the promotion money and I said, nope, I'm not going to add, but I'm going to use this money to subtract more debt to get into a position where I was only living on 70% of what I made. It took 3 years, but I had a definiteness of purpose that is what I wanted. It was more important to me to have that. Now, in this pandemic state, you have 2 things that you have to worry about in order to keep you from repeating this history in 5 to 7 years, 10 years. Fix your finances that way. Second, fix your health. You can change the way you eat. You ain't got to sit up here like those people on that CNN broadcast. They were talking about we got to change the infrastructure. More money got to be thrown into the infrastructure for black people. We got to get better education in the black community. We have to have better hospitals in black communities and things like that. I'm putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. I'm trying to fix a symptom. I'm trying to fix it. What I'm saying is black people are going to have hypertension. They're going to have diabetes. They're going to have high blood pressure. They're going to be sicker. So let's build more hospitals in the black community that are equipped to handle those types of situations. That is trying to fix a symptom and not fixing the root. And not fixing the root of the issue. Let's force grocers in the black community to have better product. Let's get on a national campaign to actually teach people how to eat and how to eat properly. Let's realize that the food pyramid was designed by the food industry, the dairy industry, matter of fact, to try to get people to eat more of their products instead of eating what is healthy. Because if you look at the old food pyramid, it had grains and breads and dairy all at the bottom as the major thing you should be eating, and fruits and vegetables at the top as the minor things you should be eating, when it should be flipped upside down. Right, the grains and the milk and the meats are the least things you should be eating, and there should be more fruits and vegetables in your diet. That's what you should be eating. So that was a paid situation. So if we had good leadership today, if we had good leadership, it would be restructured in that format. It will be restructured in that format, but it's not. So if these leaders truly wanted to change the system, if these people on CNN truly wanted to change the system, then they will go to the root of the problem. It ain't about putting more hospitals, but it's about teaching people how to eat right and how to de-stress themselves. I'd rather you put a meditation center and a healthy food educational center in a black community than to upgrade the hospital that's there. Let's tackle the root of the problem. I'd rather in that center they taught black people how to manage their money and had accountability groups to help them manage their money. Had banks that actually taught black people how to manage their money so that they can qualify for a house loan. I'd rather you put that in the black community instead of saying, well, let's beef up the current educational system, because we know the current educational system was designed to make workers, not make people learn how to think, not teach you how to think, but to make you into a factory worker. This was the idea of the Henry Fords and the Rockefellers, because they needed more people in their factories. And in their mindset, if you came into our factory, we pay you more money, you have a better lifestyle than the rural situation you've been living in. So I'm not saying they were all bad, but that system was good for that time frame. This is a new day. This is a new day. We're not working in factories. Our educational system is not designed to teach you how to think. It's not designed to teach you how to go beyond what somebody's telling you in a class. This is something that, and I was doing a recent study on this, so I don't know all the details of it right now, but many of you guys know I'm digging Botswana. Rwanda and Botswana, I'm digging those two countries. So I was doing some research this morning as well on the first independent leader of Botswana, and gosh, I forget his name, Sir Swatsi, it's something like that. This brother took the money from the money that they made off their primary products, diamonds and coal and meat, and reorganized everything to make sure that Botswana was getting the money and put it into their infrastructure. Made Botswana one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and every leader since then, the last 3-4 leaders after him, has continued to do so. His leadership was about building the true infrastructure, getting people educated, but in the current educational process, not in past educational process. Those are the kind of things that we have to do, right? Jose said Ghana and Nigeria on his scope, great countries to be a part of. Nigeria, and people like to cast Nigeria down for all its political issues. Trust me, the people in Nigeria are getting tired of those political leaders, and Nigeria, as they keep coming up, Nigeria will be a huge economic player in the world. It already is. If I was president, I would tell the people what they can purchase with food stamps, and everything will be healthy. And that is one way. But see, what the problem you have is then your black leaders would be like, you can't give them the food stamps and then tell them what they can spend and what they can't. You're taking away their freedom. Everybody else has the freedom to buy what they want. But those black leaders are not looking at the big picture. They're not looking at the big picture. They're looking at, I want you to like me, food stamp getter, so I can keep my job and so that I can make you feel good and feel happy. The thing about an oppressed people, or people who are at the bottom, that you have to realize is that they got to go through the hero's journey, so to speak. They got to go through the matrix. Now, forget the hero's journey. They got to go through what Neo went through in the matrix. If you think about what Neo went through in the matrix, first he had to wake up. And when he woke up, he was searching for Morpheus. But first he had to wake up. Then he had to follow the path of the clues that he was given. Then, once he made a choice and got over his fear, because remember at first, Morpheus told him how to get out, but he had a fear of falling, so he wouldn't jump off. He wouldn't stay on the roof outside the window. So the agents got it. But he still had this fear. But when he finally took the pill, his whole world dissolved. And he went through trauma. He almost died. Remember when they found the body. He almost died, and then when they told him he was in the matrix, his body rejected it, and he threw up and all that kind of stuff, and he was sick. He, if you're an oppressed people, you got to go through the pain. You got to go through the destruction of your world around you, only to realize what is true. And even when you realize what is true, just like he was like, why do my eyes hurt? Why can't I move? Because you've never used your eyes before. You've never used your muscles before. We've never used our true power that we have before. We've never used true, real thinking before to get us out of this situation. All we've used is the rules that the system has told us we can play by. And if you recall the movie, he said, do you think that it is my muscles that is making me stronger or faster? And he said, no, it's not. In that situation, it's not. Because Neo was still trying to follow the rules of the system that he knew. Black Americans cannot follow the rules of America because the rules of America is what is keeping you in the situation. You have to destroy those rules and recreate it. If a person is on food stamps and welfare, it is not for you to stay on food stamp and welfare and go buy all the processed foods. Buy your kids healthier foods. You are absolutely right, but the rules are going to let you buy whatever you want because they can keep you sick, keep you on their tit, basically. The rules are that if you are a single mother and you have a man and y'all have a child and you are on welfare, that man cannot be in your household. So the rules say break up the family. Is what the rules are saying. The rules say that if a company hires a black woman, she satisfies two quotas: female, gender quota, racial quota. So the black woman gets that opportunity, but when you get that opportunity, black woman, pull another one up. Open the door for someone else. Open the door for someone else. Take over the company. The rules say that's how we do it. I say just build your own damn company. Why wait for somebody to pull you up? Build your own company. Build your own company. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for you to wait for somebody to have to pull you up. There's no reason for you to wait for more research to be done. You know what's healthy and what's not. You know that when I was a personal trainer, I used to tell my clients, if it came to you, if you go to the grocery store and you can buy it in a box, it's going to put you in a box. It's that simple. Dennis says, I think that religion has a lot to do with the problem. Religion has a tremendous, religion have a big issue. Let me rephrase that. I think religion has a lot to do with the problem. Yes, it does. And only because powerful people have taken control of the people's mind and their mental spirit through religion. People like to run around today and say, I don't have religion, I have spirituality. BS. Every time I hear somebody say that, who is actually part of a religious organization, I may look at them straight, but my eyes just roll in the back of my head. Just to be honest, just roll. Because 99% of the time, when people who are sitting in a religious organization are accepting whatever they're told, and that's all they're going to do. They will not step outside. They will not open their mind to think beyond that. They are the caged gorilla. The door can swing open. They're not going to walk out. Now, all of that is based on who's the person in charge of the religion. I will say this. I have in my travels of all my years, there are some ministers, some Christian ministers I actually like. I like them. I have nothing negative to say about them. They do what they do. But these are the ministers, I don't know if he's alive still because I haven't seen him in probably 10 years, right? But there's a minister, if anybody who's on here and you're familiar with Marietta, Cobb County, Zion Hill Baptist Church in Roswell, Georgia. The gentleman who was over that church for before I was born up until I know he was still there 10 years ago. This man constantly told black people how to eat and how to eat right. He constantly told black people and showed black people how to buy the property, how to control their political environment. He was all about that business. So even though I did not agree with him religiously, the man was about the community. So the people who were under him, yeah, we may disagree on who is God and how you should describe God and what God really means to you and what it means to the world, I should say, universe. But as far as taking lessons from the Bible and actually applying them that was beneficial to black people, I would never strip that away from that man's ministry because he was on point. He was on point. I've never said a negative word about his ministry because the man was on point about the community. So there are some, that's why I say, depending on who's leading you religiously, you can, and here's the problem with that: the majority are not leading the people well. The majority aren't leading the people well. They're just not. The majority are leading the people astray. They're leaving people as trapped gorillas in a cage, not even realizing that the door is open. Many of those leaders are, they hold the keys they hold the key to the information, they hold the key to power, they hold key to knowledge, they hold key to opportunity, but they don't let the people go in, and they lock the doors and they don't allow the people to go in, but neither do they go in. They don't go in either. And some of the ones who do go in, they go in and they take advantage of all the opportunity and they yell out the door to the people, but never let the people in. They give them a little scrap here and there, but never let the people in. So I have a problem with the majority of them for that reason. And that is in every religion. Every religion, we see that. We see people who hold the keys of power and they don't let the people eat. They don't let the people in the doors, in the holiest of holies, so that they can gain all that their religion claimed that they can gain. Because if you think about it, every religion claims that their people are supposed to be rulers on the earth. They're supposed to have everything and be anything that they desire and want, but none of them teach, most of them do not teach the people how to even do it. How to even do it. That's part of my video of tomorrow is about how to actually do that. A child that was born into a non-marriage relationship will not be able to get child support in my administration. Study to show yourself approved of God. Everyone is following someone or something. Yes, they are. We are scared to go back to our orishas, calling it, I don't know how to say that word, but witchcraft. I know how to say that word. Yeah, people are. Anything outside of whomever someone's religion is going to call the other person and stuff witchcraft. Religion or world followers do the same thing in a different way. And this is absolutely correct. And that's the problem. That's why I said this history keeps repeating itself. Whether we go back and look at the ancient Greeks or Romans and their worship of Zeus and Romulus and Jupiter, or we look at the Sumerians and Marduk and Enki and Enlil, we can look at Muhammad, and we can look at the Orishas and all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, those who lead people will not give them that freedom to develop and be the greatness that they claim that they're supposed to be. Those who lead in economics, right? They'll come on. You see the show. What was that crazy guy with the economic show on CNBC? He was always smashing stuff, talking about you got to get into this stock and get into that stock. You think he's giving you the up-to-date information? No. He's telling you he's giving you these little scraps just so you can make a couple of dollars and you feel like you're doing something. He ain't telling you that the real deal is if you ain't coming into the market with $100,000, $200,000, just even to get started, you ain't even really doing nothing with $200,000 just to get started. You ain't doing nothing. You playing. I done told y'all plenty of times. Why you run around buying Tesla stock? What's this gonna do for you? Oh, I got 3 shares of Tesla, and I got 100 shares of a window of Microsoft, and you got 100 shares. Those 100 shares, let's say they selling at $100 a share. That ain't gonna keep you. That's not going to make you any money. You ain't making dividends off that. That's actually moving the meter. Now, let's say as I'm working with a client, and we had our discussion yesterday about her preparing for her future. She's looking into buying investment properties. And I showed her after she buys 5 investment properties, she's making enough income to take care of her current life. And then after that 5, she can continue to buy a couple more. She get about 10 investment properties, and she don't ever have to worry about money for the rest of her life. But yet they telling you to go invest in the stock market. They telling you to go buy bonds and go buy IRAs and put money into your 401k. And as I had told you guys before, a friend of mine that I had coached, and I had showed her how within 7 years of retirement, the majority of money in her 401k is going to be gone, right? So for all those who are hoping and wishing on 401k, the world is leading you astray the same way. And this is what I'm saying, people. History continues to repeat itself over and over again. How many people thought they was going to get their big retirements, and now retirements are pretty much gone, right? You don't get the gold watch. People don't stay at the company for 30, 40 years. Companies don't let you stay with them for 30, 40 years and collect that retirement. History will repeat itself. You will not get the gold watch and the retirement. If you don't look at how you can handle this for yourself, figure out what your number is, it's not going to happen. If you're waiting for the president, if you're waiting for Congress, if you're waiting for, oh, it's an election cycle, y'all, we got to get out and vote, because if we get out and vote, then we're going to be able to, change who's in government. And when they get in government, they're going to make things great for us. Bernie going to make things great for everybody. We're going to get free health care. We're going to get free this and free that. And who's that dude? We're going to get everybody a check every month. Y'all waiting on that? Really? Really? That what you waiting on? The French Revolution happened, and the people who revolted, the poor people who revolted, they thought that, oh, well, we're going to be able to take over, we're going to be able to do our thing, and everybody's going to be taken care of. But those same ones who were the aristocrats, the lower level aristocrats, were the ones who wound up running the government anyway. It just repeats itself. If you don't take care of you, like I said earlier, you are actually the center of your universe. You experience everything, and everything is only experienced by you. So you are truly the center of your universe. And your perspective is going to be how things are relatable to you. If you don't take care of you, the government's not going to. So unless you go and become the government, it's not going to happen. Because when you become the government, then your relationship changes. But even sometimes that, let's look at that. Haiti, 1804, revolution, killed all the white people, kicked all of them out. But for some reason, Haiti is still paying France for the amount of money that they should have been getting through all those years. And they still paying them? What kind of foolishness is that they still paying them? African colonists or African countries that used to be French colonies were still paying France. They got their freedom. Why are they still paying their oppressor? Because that's history repeating itself again. Now, eventually they won't. Eventually they'll break away. But if they don't make themselves strong enough economically and militarily, then they'll get conquered again. At some point, every nation rises up and every nation falls. So, and here's the thing. Everybody believes in something and everybody follows something. You're exactly right. The question is, are you utilizing what you're following to make your life grander? To put you in a situation where you're not a victim of this panic matrix. You're not a victim of the false truth matrix. So many people are going to transfer from COVID-19 to 5G. And then after that, by the time we get to the election, you're going to transfer to Trump won again, and everything's gonna be jacked up, and oh, woe is us, and he's this fool in office. It'll be some other conspiracy thing that distracts you and that you stay caught up in. And all the while, you haven't been paying attention to how you eat. And all the while, we haven't been paying attention to how we live. All the while, we haven't been paying attention to our economics. And then 10 years from now, we're gonna find ourselves still in the lower level. I mean, I want you to think about it, black people. You've been here longer than Mexicans been here, the Hispanic population, but the Hispanic population is doing better. You've been here longer than the Asian population, but the Asian population is doing better. Why? Why? We know the system. And don't come on here, the first person that say like, oh, well, they got programs for them to be able to get business loans and all that kind of stuff. You can get a loan. You can get a loan. Hell, I got a loan. I had a 390 credit score, but I had one heck of a business plan. And I used that business plan to convince somebody else who had means to be my business partner, and we utilized their credit and their finances in order to get the business loan. You see, thinking that there's only one way of getting it done is part of the problem. You got to realize that there are more than one way of getting it done. You have to be able to play the game outside the box, because most black people wouldn't have thought, oh, I can take my low credit score, but with a great business plan, I can get somebody else who will double down on this business plan with me. I did. It took a minute. It took 10 banks. I got no's from 9 banks before the 10th. No, heck no. Actually, I got no from 10 banks before the 11th bank told me yes. All right. But I got it done and opened up my gym. Got it done. All right. It's just like, and in every situation, there's a way to get it done. We just have to play outside the rules. Quit trying to do it the way that everybody else has done it and thinking that, oh, it's supposed to be fair. Here's a wake-up call. Life has never been fair, especially for those who are the downtrodden. So stop thinking it's supposed to be fair. All right? They spend their money with each other. All right. What's his name? Luther Constantine. Do me a favor. Go around the black community. Look at all the Asian restaurants and the Asian businesses that are owned by them, and you'll see that most of the time they flourish. Usually because they don't have that much competition. Go into their community, and you will see that the majority, that there are businesses in their community that are opening and closing, just like any other community. Because they don't spend all their money within their community. Now, there's that thing about, oh, the black dollar only circulates for 6 minutes and everybody else dollar circulates for 10 days, 9 days, 6 days, all these many days, right? The only reason that's true is because most of the businesses in the black community are not owned by black people, especially past 10, 15 years plus. But if you look at it now, more and more businesses in the black community are starting to be owned by black people, which means the dollar will circulate. Because here is a fact. Everybody spends the majority of their money within a 5-mile radius of where they live. Everybody goes to grocery stores within a 2-mile radius of where they live. Everybody mostly go to restaurants within a 2-mile radius of where they live. They go to gas stations within a 1-mile radius of where they live. Most people spend the majority of their check within the 1 to 5-mile radius of where they live. The question is, who owns the business in their community? That's the determining factor. Asian people ain't out here saying, purposely having meetings in the dark, talking about we're going to have to spend money just in our community. No, they spend money in their community because most of the businesses are owned by the people in their community. The more and more black businesses are owned by black people in our community, the more and more we spend our money in black communities. Where I used to live, the Bojangles that came into on Panola Road, well, where my store used to be, because I didn't live over that way, because I was further down the street. But anyway, when the Bojangles came there, many people who didn't know would probably say, "Oh, they put a Bojangles in there, and we lined up." Yeah, we lined up. It's convenient. It's right there. But what most people don't know is that the franchise of that Bojangles were owned by a young black man in California. So we spending money with our own people. We spend our own. Sure, somebody else, white people own the franchise, own the parent company, but he bought a franchise. That money's going into there. Almost every employee in there was black. So we're putting money into black kids' hands, because we're shopping there. We have to stop defeating ourselves with the false information about ourselves. And we have to wake up to what is truth. What is truth? If black people bought the gas stations in black communities, then most people who buy gas in black communities are buying it from a black man. If you own the bread stores, if you own the restaurants, if you own, the movie theaters, if you own the bowling alley, we own the insurance companies, the daycares. Matter of fact, y'all, as you guys may or may not know, my wife, she owns Donna's Loving Care. She owns a daycare center, getting ready to expand as soon as all this mess is over. But in her area, on the east side of town, the majority of daycares are owned by black people. So in the daycare industry, there's black people buying from black people. So let's stop that. We have to. That's what I'm saying. We can't be in the cage and scared to go out. We can't look at the ocean and somebody says, "How's the water?" and we say, "What the hell is water?" And just go by this information that just keeps circulating. Because that type of information is what's used in order for politicians to keep getting your vote, because then they can make you some false promises. Here we're going to bring more black businesses to the black community so that the black dollar continues to circulate. No, that's already happening. And we are sheep. We are herd. Well, I ain't going to say we sheep, but we are herd-like creatures, animals. We like to do things in herds. If there's a popular brand of something around us, we're going to go to that brand and we're going to keep going. Only time we're going to go somewhere else if it's inconvenient or something else is more convenient for us, then we'll go there. Or there has to be something about the competition that I like better. Like for me, Be honest with you. My wife be trying to make me go to Walmart. I can't stand Walmart. I hate Walmart. Walmart is like to me. I can't stand it. It's not because I ain't got no problems with the people who work there and all that kind of stuff. I like the customer service, the cleanliness, and the small size of Publix. That's just me. Or a really good Kroger. If the place don't look, if the place look like crap to me, I don't like going in there. That's just me. You can call me bougie, don't really care, but I can't stand it. So people will have their preferences of what they like, and I have mine, and you have yours. But we got to stop saying that Asian people are all ganging up to do this, or Jewish people are ganging up to do that. Now we do the same thing. We'll sit up there and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to spend my business. If two people call you trying to get you to buy insurance, you need insurance. You've been thinking about it. If one of them's black and one of them's white, most of the time, unless if the companies are equal, if it's apples and apples, you'll pick a black person simply because they're black. Jewish people do the same thing. White people do the same thing. Asian people do the same thing. But as far as the majority of our money, we spend it in our area. Harris Teeter. I like Harris Teeter. We don't have many Harris Teeters out here on my side. Well, I'm on the side of town I'm on, though. Trust me. I'm from the north side of Atlanta. I would preferably rather live on the north side of Atlanta. I don't like the east side. There's not as much stuff out here. But see, here's the open mindset. There's not as much stuff on the east side of Atlanta. So depending upon what business you want to get involved in, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity. I was explaining how I forgot who I was talking to somebody, but I was telling them that from one part, there's like a 7 miles from the east side of town to into town. Not 7 miles, like 20 miles into town, and 7 miles wide. There are no coffee shops in that whole 20 by 7 miles. Most people look at that and they start, see, they don't want to put that in the black community because it did that and third. No, they should be saying, oh my gosh, there's a gap. Where is the best location that I can put a coffee shop and build my brand and start making and solidify my brand so that I become the primary brand for that area? So when the big company do try to come in, I'm already solidified in that community. And matter of fact, I'm not going to just open the one. As soon as I have the one, I'm not going to live higher on the hog. I'm going to go open the second one, and third one, and fourth one, and fifth one, all in that 7 by 20 mile radius area so that I can become the big deal in that area and then grow my company so I can compete. That's the open-minded thinking that we have to have if we don't want to be caught in the same situation that we're caught in today. If we want to show this generation how to build something, that's the mindset. That's how you do it. And I'm telling you guys this, but trust and believe. I told you I love coffee. I don't know that just because I just happen to know it. There are a lot of stuff that I just know because I just like studying everything. But that's something I'm looking at and studying because I have an interest in it. But that's how we have to think. We got to think differently. Get outside the box. Stop thinking the way they've been telling us to think. And those people on that CNN broadcast, I appreciate them, but they are part of the problem. They are slightly part of the solution, but they're a bigger part of the problem. That's what we have to change. That's what we have to change. So we got to get out of this matrix. Stop panicking. Stop panicking. There's nothing to panic about. There's nothing to panic about. This thing came, it will go. It will go. Something else is going to come later. Fact of the matter is, look at the reality of it. Everything keeps coming full circle. And when it does, you have to look at whomever the leaders are, whoever, oh, I'm the medical professional and I'm the political professional and I'm the this professional and that professional. I put a post on my Facebook saying that college education doesn't make you intelligent. I know plenty of dumbass people with bachelors and psych PhDs and all that. Especially, the worst ones are the PhDs. Because you're a PhD because you got scholarship over scholarship, which is not scholarship. Scholarship of scholarship is not scholarship. They're the ones get on my nerves the worst. You never talk about politicians. Are you Democrat or Republican? I am neither. I am independent. I am a true independent. You have got to win my vote every time. Every time you have to win my vote. And if no one wins my vote, I won't vote at all. I won't vote at all. There have been presidential elections that I have not voted for a president. I voted for judges. I voted for local politicians. And I've been on both sides. red, Democrat, Republican, and independents. I voted for the party that didn't stand a chance in hell in winning. I voted for the libertarian candidate before. Um, so you got to win my vote every time. And just because you just because you black, that don't mean nothing to me. I don't mean nothing. Look, I was in the Marine Corps under Bush and Clinton. First Bush, the first Bush and Clinton. Clinton screwed us big time. Screwed us big time. The Bush administration, the first Bush was at 41, I think. Well, Walker Bush, Daddy Bush, as they call him. That man was taking care of the military. I had so many Marines get off of food stamps under him, and then I had so many Marines get on food stamps during Clinton. Our preparedness dropped drastically under Clinton. No, no, no. And then Clinton and the industrial, no. You got to win my vote. You got to win my vote. When Trump first came out, I was a Trump supporter because I had read all his books. I thought I had this image of I had this image of Trump. This was my image of Trump when he first came out and said he was running for president. And then he kept talking, and he kept talking, and he kept talking. And I was just like, oh, I don't know who this joker is. I didn't even vote because I was not voting for Hillary. That was not going to happen. And I didn't vote for Trump either. I voted for senators and congressmen, and I voted for the judges and local politicians. But I ain't vote for Hillary or Trump. And I'm about to be in the same situation. About to be in the same situation. Because I ain't voting for Biden. That ain't happening. I ain't voting for Trump either. That ain't happening either. I ain't voting for neither one of them fools. What do I think about Trump? I think he's an idiot. I think politically he's an idiot. Entertainment wise, getting the population to move, messing around with people's emotion, he's a genius. He's a genius at selling. He's a great salesman, and people are buying it. I am mad at the people more than him because the people buy into it, right? This man promised all kind of things to poor white people, and they ain't getting none of it. And they keep still running around supporting him like they gonna get it. They haven't realized that he treats them just like anybody else that has no political capital, that has no financial economic capital. So the fact that they're running after him like that is insane to me. It just shows me they still walk around like that. They still blinders. They're still gorillas in the cage. The door is open, but they scared to walk out. They scared to realize that you can become a fish you may be a fish in a bowl, but somebody has put the bowl in the ocean. We're in a different age of thinking now. The bowl is in the ocean. You're a fish in that bowl. You can swim out of the bowl and have the whole ocean. I don't care what your religion is. Your religion is a bowl that sits in the ocean. You can swim out the bowl and truly understand the created universe. Your economics is in a bowl of lower class, middle class, but you can swim out and change your financial existence if you are willing to get out of the bowl. You're national, you're in a bowl. Every aspect of your life is in a freaking bowl that's sitting in a freaking ocean that you can swim out of, but you're too dang scared and you're acting like a gorilla in a cage. And all you do is close the door and stay in your cage. Wait for master to come and feed you. Wait for them to bring you your bushel of bananas and so that you can eat. And you think that you're happy. You think this is the way life is supposed to be. But you're just dying. You're the cannon fodder, you're the pawn. But you don't have to be. You don't even have to play chess. Go play a different game. Go play a different game. Play a game of utilizing the least amount of your resources to acquire as much as you possibly can. That's the game to play because that's what they're playing. They're utilizing the least amount of their resources to acquire as much power, as much land, and as much influence as they possibly can. And you can play the same game too. You just have to look at history, see how it repeats itself, recognize what's the vehicle of that history from back then, what's the vehicle today, and what's the pathway it's taken, and how can I use it to my best advantage. If y'all not buying land, buying houses and things right now, then you're not setting yourself up for the future. If you're buying stocks and bonds instead of buying property, you're not setting yourself up for the future. If you're buying stocks and bonds instead of investing in a business, you're not you're not setting yourself up for the future. You're not changing things. And let me just say this, for 98% of the people who get involved in a network marketing company, you're never going to make any money. You're never going to make any money. It's not a business. You don't own it. If you can't set the prices and you can't set the product, you can't set the service, it's not your business. You're just a salesperson for it. So don't count that. Don't count that. They dog out brick and mortar because you got to put more money into it. So if that means you got to save money for 5, 6, 7 years, build your credit, get yourself squared away so you can do it, then you do it. You do it. Go out there, get a coach, and make sure you're doing it in a way that's going to minimize your risk. If you don't own a business, a real one, and you don't own land, you're not setting yourself up for a future. You're setting yourself up to be a dependent of the government, and the government changes depending upon the power brokers and how they feel about it and what's going to make them the most money. And they're always going to want to give you the least that they can possibly can. You have to change the way you eat. Change the way you eat. I'm not telling you to become 1% vegetarian nor vegan, but what I am telling you is that you got to eat way more fruits and vegetables than you're eating meat and grain and breads and dairy. Matter of fact, you need to cut as much dairy out your system as possible, because the mucus that the dairy and the bread creates in your system is where viruses can live and breed and have a good old party inside your body. Build up your immune system and get your money right. Learn how to meditate and de-stress. Every day you should be meditating at least once. I meditate in the morning, I meditate at night. And then pretty much throughout my day, I'm doing what's called walking meditations, where my mind is constantly maintaining a meditative state. My respiratory is so low because I'm always taking meditative breath throughout the day. Get your body, your mind into the right format. Get out of the bowl, swim in the ocean. All right? Get out of the bowl, swim in the ocean. And when you're really ready to ascend, you'll realize that the ocean extends beyond the surface of the water. That water is everywhere. Water is in the sky, is in the air. You transmute your mind, your consciousness to be able to move on all scales and all levels, so that absolutely nothing holds you back. Nothing keeps you from becoming the greatest version that your spirit man is, that your spirit being is. Let me not say man, your spirit being is. Because your spirit being is greater than any bowl that anybody has ever put you in and that you've ever put yourself in. But it's only up to you to stop justifying what you've been taught as a child and making that your only reality, and realize that you have never actually made a choice of who you are. When you make the choice of who you are, then you are truly on a pathway to becoming the great version of yourself that you never knew existed, because you can make that change. Nobody else can make it for you. You're the center of your universe. Nobody can make that change for you, that decision for you, because only you can reflect your experience of those things and how you think about them. And you are the only one that's experiencing it the way that you do. So the moment that you realize that you are greater than any label that anybody has ever put on you, the moment you start to do the work, yes, your world will crash. It will crash. Because everything you've thought and everything you believe and all the systems that have been out there that's supposed to do well for you and support you, you will crash at first, because you will hit a point where you say, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong? What if this ain't work? I have safety in my conditioning. But when you come through it, you will recognize a level of freedom that you've never experienced before in your life. You will recognize a level of being, of peace, of calmness that you've never experienced. That things like COVID-19 does not bother you. Does not bother you. I follow precautions, but I know that it doesn't matter, because I don't live by my ego and I don't live by this body. And as long as I don't live by this body, then there's nothing on this planet that can hurt me, that can deal with me, that can touch me. Because even if I leave this existence right now, I know that I continue to exist. So no, there's no such thing as death. And whatever somebody wants to put on me as far as what their hell is, that's their hell. Their hell ain't got nothing to do with what I perceive. What I perceive doesn't matter what they perceive, what they think. Keep on with your truth. It's the atheist and the religious person in the bar. No matter how they say it or what they say, that's their truth. So what? It doesn't have to be mine. So I'm going to end it right there, guys. I will do a video about chakras before this week is out. I'm going to do that as a live. We're gonna do a chakra video as a live. Today is what, Tuesday? Tuesday. So we'll do a video about chakra, a live one before the end of this week. I'll put out an announcement earlier in the day. I don't know if tomorrow's video is gonna be a live or it's gonna be Memorex, but when I know I'm gonna do a live, I put it out there on the schedule. So I appreciate you guys on the YouTube channel. Please continue to subscribe. It helps build the channel. Thank you everybody for being here. All my Patreons, thank you for your patron gift. Your gift of Patreon, the people who gave it to me this month and for next month. I had a family member. Our family home in Carrollton, Georgia, burned down, and two of our family members are in the hospital with very high degree burns. And so your Patreon gifts for this month and next month is going to be part of my donation to my family. So I want to let my patrons know that's where their money is going these next 2 months. So I appreciate you guys. How can you buy some popcorn? You can go to my website, the letter U, the letter R, and the word popcorn.com, and you can order popcorn. There will be a slight delay, but go ahead and order now. There'll be a slight delay because I got to get more shipping material from the post office so I can make sure I get that out. I'm out of shipping material, but that's my fault. So go ahead and order, but that's the letter U, the letter R, and the word popcorn.com. And if you like any of my coaching programs, just go to coachrenz.com, and we can, I love coaching people. We do a video, So, but there are going to be, I'm going to do a class soon. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do it. It's going to be on Zoom, but I'm going to do on how to build a business plan. I'm going to show you guys how I built the business plan. I'm going to give you that business plan, the template of how I built that plan in order to get somebody to back my company when I opened up UC Fitness back in the day. So look for that to come out, how we're going to do all of that in the next couple of few days. Y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself. Why? Because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good vibrations, good journey.